So up to this point, when we've made changes to our models or to our context file, Entity Framework has automatically dropped the database and then recreated it. And that works really well when we're in the testing phase, but we are now moving into the production phase, and so we don't really want it to do that anymore. So we are going to implement data migrations, which will basically make those database updates for us without dropping and recreating the database. Now, before we can execute the commands for data migration, we need to make a couple little tweaks to our existing files. And the first one we're going to change is web config. And let me open that up. And the change that we're going to make to web config is at the bottom here. That context section that we added either needs to be deleted or commented out. So to comment it out, you're going to use an HTML comment. So it's an angle bracket, exclamation, dash, dash. And that starts the comment. And then at the end, we're going to do a dash, dash, and an angle bracket. The next change we're going to make is also in web config. We need to change the name of the actual database because we want it to create a brand new one. So up at the top where we have that database name, and this would be in the connection string section, we are going to change the name. Right now it's Contasso University 1. And we're just going to change that to a 2. And I'm going to save it. And let's run a build. And then the next thing that we are going to do is give the command to enable migrations. So we have to go up to Tools, NuGet Package Manager, and Package Manager Console. Okay, and so at the bottom you should see PM and an angle bracket, stands for Package Manager, and we're going to key in enable dash migrations. Pressing enter. And it could take a little while when you do this. When it is completely done, you will see that package manager prompt again. And then we're going to add our first migration. And we're going to call it initial create. And that one may also take a little while to run. And what you should notice when we enabled the migrations is a migrations folder was added to our solution. And then inside that folder, we have an initial create class. And then after the add migration is done running, you'll see we have another class with a date in front of it. And let's take a quick look at the configuration file, because you will notice that there is a seed method, and we can add data to that if we want to. It allows us to insert or update the data after code first creates the database. The method is called when the database is created and every single time the database schema is updated. And what we're going to do is replace what's in this file with some code. And I'm going to pull this over. There's a link to the code in the notes, but you can see that we are actually going to seed the tables with some real data. So I'm just going to copy all of that. And I'm going to highlight and paste. And then let me save it. So as you can see, the seed method is pulling in the context as a parameter. And then we are creating a list of student objects, and that is what we are using to update the database. So this is very similar to our previous seed method that we were using. Now, I'm not sure if you remember before, but in the previous seed, we were adding data, and here we've got add or update. So this is a little different than what we had before. Basically, add or update checks to see if the row is already there. If it's already there, it updates the row. If it's not there, it inserts a new one. Quite often, this is called an upsert. Now, if you wanted to keep changes made during the testing after the database updates, you can do a conditional insert where you insert a row if it does not exist. And let me pull over an example of that code. So here we're looking at enrollment, and it says that if enrollment in database is null, meaning it does not exist, then we are going to go ahead and add the enrollment object. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and save all of our changes, and we're going to run a build. And the other file that we need to modify is our initial create. So let's open that up. And so you can kind of see that it's got a bunch of create table commands in here. It's also specifying some keys and indexing. We have a little different code we're going to use for that. So you are going to want to copy and paste from the notes. And again, it's still just creating tables, specifying the keys, and creating some indexing. So this is defining our structure. And once you get done, make sure you save all your changes. And now that we have made a change, since we did our initial data migration, we need to update the database. So we're going to go to Tools, NuGet Package Manager, and the console. And we're going to key in update database. Now, if you want to really look at the commands, if you add dash verbose on the end, it will give you a longer listing of commands. And we'll take a little look at that one later. And it looks like it worked. Now, if you update the database and you get a pending changes error, then you need to go into the configuration CS file, and you have to look for automatic migrations and make sure it is enabled. Here it is. And for some reason, ours is set to false. We should set that to true. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And let's see. Oh, it says unable to update the database. Need to read those messages better. Okay, so that was necessary. And we'll try this again. And then once that gets done, we're going to go ahead and run the app again. And let me pull this over here. And we're going to go ahead and try to access our data. And it does appear to work. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out.